The castle keeps putting us in the same room.
The castle is not subtle.
No, but it is efficient.
The mural had waited 2,000 years for this exact arrangement of people. Now that it had them, it was not prepared to wait a single moment longer. She looked up. He was already there. The shadow stood between them and did not move because for the first time in its imprisonment, it was exactly where it needed to be. He did not ask how she was there. He did not ask about the shadow. He understood, looking at the three of them arranged over the mural, that the archive had known before any of them did.
How long has it been glowing?
Since you appeared in the doorway.
It was waiting for me.
It was waiting for both of us.
The crack was never damage. It was a deliberate seal placed by someone who knew that the message beneath it could only be read when both figures were present above it, in the same breath, in the same night. Someone very long ago had engineered this moment precisely, had known a prince with two shadows and a girl with none would one day kneel together over this floor, and they had left them instructions.
The key does not open the prison. The key teaches the prisoner what freedom costs.
It is not about me opening it.
It never was.
It means you have to choose it, the shadow. Not endure it, choose it, willingly.
And you?
I teach you how. That is what I am here for.
Willingly. In 30 years, the court had spoken of the shadow as burden, weapon, curse, inheritance, never as choice. The word hit him like cold water and left him, for one unguarded moment, unable to be anything other than exactly what he was. By dawn, 3 people in the castle knew what had happened in the archive. By the time the king finished his morning briefing, it would be 4. Information in a royal court moves like water. It always finds the lowest place. The summons arrived before he had finished arming. His father had been efficient. That was one of his more reliable qualities when he was displeased. He moved before anyone else was ready.
The shadow left you for 6 hours. You spent the night in the archive with her. The shadow went to find someone who could hear it. That is precisely what concerns me. She found the mural's full text. She understands what the shadow actually is, what the order wants. Removing her removes our only advantage. Or it removes the order's mechanism entirely. It will not. The shadow feeds on what you feel for her. Every time you go deeper, the prison weakens. I know. And you went anyway. Yes.
It was there for less than a second. Anyone less practiced at reading composed faces would have missed it entirely. But Kael had been reading his father's face since he was old enough to understand what it was hiding. He had never seen that look before. It was fear. For him. She had lain in her chamber until dawn, going through everything she knew, and assembling it into a shape she didn't fully like, but couldn't argue with. By the time light came, she had the architecture of it. She just didn't yet know what it would cost her.
You found the archive mural. The shadow followed you there alone last night.
It needed someone who could hear it. I could hear it.
That is exactly what I was afraid of.
You brought me here knowing what I am. Did you think I would stand still and watch?
I brought you because I had no choice. Someone forced my hand.
Who?
A letter. 4 months ago, sealed with the Order's sunburst sigil. It told me exactly what would happen to you if I did not bring you here.
And if you did?
The same thing. Either way, they needed you here.
She already knew she was here by design. What she hadn't known was that her father had carried the weight of being the instrument of that design for 4 months alone, in silence, unable to warn her without making things worse. The soldiers had served under him for a decade. They knew how to navigate around the shadow without being told. They had never known what it cost him to watch them practice that avoidance every single day.
You could at least pretend not to watch.
You could at least pretend you don't know I'm here.
He had dismissed the drill, walked inside, and started climbing stairs. He told himself he was heading to the East Wing. He was already at the wrong staircase for the East Wing. He had been at the wrong staircase since yesterday morning.
The castle keeps putting us in the same room.
The castle is not subtle.
No, but it is efficient.
She told him everything. The mural, her father's confession, the Order's letter. He listened without interruption. He had waited 30 years to hear the truth about his own life.
My father has known what the shadow is since before I was born. He chose to let me carry it without telling me.
He was afraid that understanding it would make you choose it.
He was right.
The king had not summoned Voss. Voss had requested an audience. The distinction mattered to a man who understood that who comes to whom is always the first move in any negotiation.
The girl and the prince have found the mural's second layer. The sequence is accelerating. How much time? 3 days before the configuration locks. After that, nothing you do will matter. And if I separate them, what does the order gain from the prison remaining sealed? Nothing. Then we do not share the same interest, Elder Boss. The order does not need the same interest. We need only the same outcome. The prince's death. The shadow's release. The prince's death is incidental.
Somewhere in the castle, a king was choosing between his son and his throne. Somewhere, an ancient predator was finally being understood. Somewhere, a girl was reading about the sacrifice she had been born for. The sun kept moving. He had spent his reign choosing the kingdom first. But sitting alone that afternoon, he realized no one had taught him how to make a choice that had his son's name on it. He had not sought this meeting. The shadow had gone, still not because Liora was near, but because it recognized what Voss was, and understood precisely what he had come to this corridor to say.
You're beginning to understand the shadow. That alone is dangerous.
More dangerous than an order that worships extinction?
Considerably, because you might actually change the ending.
You spent memories this morning. What did you purchase?
The exact moment the prince's feelings reach the threshold.
And what is the threshold?
The first kiss, the prison begins to fracture, irreversible.
The first kiss was the threshold, not the feeling that had existed long before. The kiss was simply where the mechanism began. He filed the knowledge away with the precision of a man who had spent 30 years surviving impossible rules. Court dinners were never about the food. They were about who sat where, who looked at whom, and what 1,000 practiced eyes could gather from the specific angles of looking and not looking across a very long table. There was enough subtext in the silences between people at this table tonight to fill the archive. Every glance a message, every pause a negotiation, every carefully aimed non-look its own kind of declaration.
The prince seems distracted this evening.
Thinking about the Eastern Border report. Of course, my lord.
Of course.
She was better at not looking than he was. That was the first useful comparative data she had gathered since breakfast. She was not sure what it said about either of them that she was keeping score. Voss had not come to this dinner to eat. He had come to confirm a measurement. Every look exchanged between the prince and the girl was data. And the data tonight was telling him the timeline he had been given was already generous. The order did not make threats. They made calculations delivered as information. The note was not a threat. As she discovered in her chamber 3 minutes later, it was far more effective than any threat could have been. The note told her what she had half known since the archive. To seal the shadow permanently, the only currency the seal accepted, the only thing old enough to pay the price the prison had been built on, was every memory she carried of the one who carried it. He had stood on these battlements 100 times. He had always looked at the sky or the forest. Tonight, for the first time, he looked at the shadow, not around it, not past it, directly at it. And it turned to face him. He said to the shadow, "I know what they did to you." What the mural said, "I am asking not as your carrier, as myself. What do you need from me?" She told herself she was walking because she could not sleep. She told herself she looked up at the battlements because she saw light. She was a very poor liar, and she was becoming increasingly tired of being one. The castle had been arranging their proximity since the morning of her arrival. At this point, Kael had stopped calling it coincidence. And Liora, who did not believe in coincidence, had stopped calling it anything at all.
I received a note from the order. You need to know what the final sealing requires.
Tell me.
Everything I remember of you, every memory, that is the price the seal demands.
He had been prepared for cost. He had carried a cost since birth. But cost with a name, cost that looked like her, and spoke with her voice, and would one day look at him without knowing why the sight of him felt like something important that was a different weight entirely.
Then we have whatever time remains before that becomes necessary. I intend to use it.
Kay, I know what it costs.
I am asking you to let it matter first.
She had spent 20 years being defined by her function, the key, the instrument, the one born for this. She had made peace with being the thing built for a purpose. She had not been prepared for someone to look at the purpose and say, "Let it matter first." The garden was very still. The shadow was silent. The order was somewhere above them adjusting a timeline. And for right now, standing in the silver dark, neither of them cared about any of it. The fourth memory Voss spent was the last one that had contained a name he recognized as his own. After this, he would know himself only by function. He had paid for the activation of the sequence's first stage. The prince had 3 days. Voss intended to give him 2. He had served the crown for 40 years. He had kept secrets that cost him pieces of himself he would never recover. But this was the first secret that had his daughter's name on it. And he had run out of the kind of patience that keeps a man from doing the right thing.
She knew. She read the full text and she already knew. And she came down here at midnight and sat with it, alone, my girl. She already knows the cost. I know.
Liora father then asked him, "And you still came to the garden?"
Yes. The order's letter named one condition. Liora must never choose the sealing willingly. If she does, the seal holds forever. If she's forced, it breaks within a generation. They need her to resist it. They need you. The order needed Liora here. Needed me to feel something. Needed the feeling to make her hesitate. All of it engineered.
3 men in an archive at midnight. One trying to protect the girl, one trying to understand what he was carrying, and one who had spent every feeling he had ever possessed to make sure neither of them succeeded. The mural kept sealing. It did not care about any of them.
I remember this. I remember being afraid of losing something. I remember loving someone. I don't remember who.